All right, everybody, listen up. If your contracts are not airtight, your deals are already at risk. Right now, today, wholesalers are getting burned, locked out of assignments, losing equity, even getting sued. Not because they can't find deals, but because their paperwork is absolute garbage. And that standard contract, it's not protecting you. Today, I have Keith Gillespie. He's an active investor and coach who has seen it all and cleaned up messes that could have been avoided with as much as one clause. So today, we are breaking down what every investor needs in their contracts and when to pull the trigger on tools like memorandums. Welcome to the Closers Club. Let's get to it. Keith, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you. Man, you have the most epic intros. Thanks, man.
Thank you. I want to jump right into it. We have 20 minutes. I see a lot of investors out there that are just, using generic contracts that were never built for wholesaling, or at least wholesaling in 2025. What is the number one mistake that you're seeing people with using these, contracts, and, what's the thing that's exposing them to the biggest risk?
Frankly, I see the same issues with them as I did myself. I think that everybody does when they get started. You just go into Google and you get like a cheap one, or you go on to what are the legalforms.com or legaldocs.com.
Yeah, something, right?
For a thing, right? And the generic, it doesn't protect you. I have a really good attorney who goes over all of the paperwork in my company, and he has this thing that he's drilling into me right now as we're doing like a compliance audit. He says, if there's confusion, then there's a case. If there's confusion, if there's any I don't really know if this can be interpreted this way, if this can be, what do you mean by this? Like, is there a definition for this? So on and so forth. And so I think that the biggest issue with a generic contract is it's just not clear on what the deal is. And it's not set up. Let's just talk about the most basic of the most basic. Let's talk about price. If you're getting into any of these creative finance deals, whether it's I'm not talking about a cash deal. I'm talking about we're taking this subject to its underlying mortgage, or it's owner finance, meaning we're having, down payment with monthly payments afterwards, or it's both. It's a hybrid of I'm taking it subject to, and I'm doing owner financing on $150,000 of equity. So here's my EMD. Here's what's down due at closing. Here's what the monthly payments are. I'm taking over the mortgage. That needs to be very clearly outlined. And if you look at the vast majority of these deals, that's not clearly articulated. Maybe there's just blank empty lines for somebody to fill out. But frankly, if you're new, you don't know how to properly describe that on 3 lines.
No, dude, there were so many times when I would get a contract in the very early days and I would be like, am I the signor, the purchaser, the leaser, the leasee? I don't even know who I am. I would have to read it and try to fill in the blanks and figure it out. And I think you're right. There are these contracts floating around out there that are just so generic. You can do every single thing with one tool. And you're right. There are a lot of these lines that are left blank. So people don't know. They don't know which lines they should be filling out, which they should be writing NA, or which they should be putting a 0 on. And you're absolutely right. Confusion will lead you to having problems.
Yep. I want there to be absolute clarity in the contract. And that means that most of the time, I've seen a lot of contracts. People will bring me contracts whenever I'm a buyer, right? And somebody's assigning me the contract. Before I say anything, before I put a deposit, let me see the contract. Because if you're assigning this means that all of those, not just the rights, but the responsibilities as well. What am I on the hook for?
Right.
What does this contract say? And people will give me literal 1 page. Sometimes the better ones that I see are 2 page. Mine's 4, so it's not this exuberant thing. We have a friend, if I say Matt V, I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Big contract, right? That thing is airtight. It is bulletproof. It has everything. I think that's a little bit too long. I personally, I won't use that. Mine's 4 pages long, and it goes over everything. And I think that's really important, that you have maybe not everything, but
Mhm.
the things that are going to pop up most of the time, right?
Yeah,
Absolute clarity.
I agree with you. I do think that if it gets too long, it just gets confusing. I know for me, when I'm buying a house and using a realtor, I'll be like, oh God, like, can you just look through this and tell me if there's anything I need that I
Yes,
need to be watching out for? Because it
yes,
gets to be so much, and where one check mark can swing a deal $10,000 either way.
agreed.
So yeah, one thing I like to tell people is, hey, my contract, it's so simple a third grader can understand it. Right.
Yes.
Like, I want it to be very straightforward, normal language. I'm not trying to show
No
anybody how
nonsense.
smart I am. I'm not
Yeah.
using fancy terms like you're selling, I'm buying.
Yep.
Here's where we're going to close. Here's when we're going to close. Here's who's
Exactly.
paying the closing costs. Simple stuff like that.
We even have a cheat sheet for it. So ours is written with no legalese. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't look like a fifth grader wrote it, but
Yeah.
it's easy to understand with
Mhm.
to understand language. But in addition to that, we actually have a purchase and sales agreement cheat sheet that we give for acquisition managers.
Yeah.
And as they're putting the property under contract, we actually walk the seller through paragraph by paragraph,
Mhm.
explaining everything to them in layman's terms,
Yeah.
gives them an opportunity to ask their questions, and
Mhm.
also gives them an opportunity for us to overcome their objections, right?
Right.
Paragraph by, are you good with this paragraph? Yes, I am. Next one. Any questions? Nope. Good with this one. And we just walk them through. And
Mhm.
now at the end of the day, hey, you've agreed to everything. It's all in writing. It's
Mhm.
not just verbal. Now we're here to sign it. But then if they don't sign it, now we can overcome their objections
Yeah.
while we're right there on the phone with them, which I
Nice.
really like that
Have you
opportunity.
ever thought of recording those calls?
Oh, they're all recorded.
They're all recorded. There you go. I have
Yes.
a friend of mine that does a lot of creative sub two deals, and they if they bring somebody in the office, they videotape it, or they do it over Zoom and they make
Yep.
sure it's recorded, just
Yep.
to so there's no business later of, oh, I didn't really know.
That's
But
exactly right.
yeah, one thing that we see, again, after doing 8,000 files at Easy REI closings, that it's happened so many times where one of our clients sends us the contract, we call the seller, and maybe it's a sub two deal. Like, there's so many times where the seller has no idea what that really means. Like,
Hmm.
and I get it. We don't want to over explain and scare people away, but they think that the loan is being paid off.
Right.
That's people. I want to be optimistic and say that they're not misleading them, that they're just doing just a piss poor job of explaining it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a gap that sometimes our TCs have to overcome.
Absolutely. And again, if it's in the paperwork, and if you have a good business practice of walking
Yeah.
the seller through it, explaining everything in layman's terms, I
Yeah.
think this is really good. And in recording it, like you said,
Mhm.
if now that I'm thinking about it, in addition to that, we even have sub two disclosures and disclaimers that we
Yeah.
send after. So not only do we have the perfect presentation, which is all recorded, then we have the purchase and sales agreement with us, which is both written and audio. We have the call is being recorded, and then we have the disclosures and disclaimers that are sent afterwards. So we have had some issues actually. 2 years ago, I got brought into court saying same thing, seller's amnesia. She sold me this
Yeah.
house. I had kept it sub two, held it
Mhm.
as a rental, and she's
Yeah.
saying, oh, this guy never paid off my mortgage. It was supposed to. Your Honor, dude, like, here's all the paperwork. Here's the call recordings.
Yeah.
Here's the disclosures, the disclaimers. They were notarized at the bank. I mean, not at the bank, at the title company.
Oh, wow.
So like, you can't tell me that you didn't know.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that it wasn't your signature. It's
Yeah.
notarized.
We always, recommend that it's got to be crystal clear, especially at the closing table, that if you're assigning the deal, that the seller knows who the person is to contact, that person understands they're responsible for making these payments now,
Yep.
that's what they bought. But yeah, same thing. I've seen that happen to investors where, it comes back to them and that people want to sue them. And thank God for having the kind of disclosures. I think mine's like a page or two, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not on drugs. I'm not under duress. I've talked to an attorney. I understand the
Yeah.
mortgage doesn't get paid off. Like, it's literally first grade language.
I actually have that. Yep.
Yeah. And I want their initials on every single thing. Otherwise,
Yep.
I can't help you. There's no way for me to help
I
you.
super agree with that.
Yeah.
Ultimate clarity across the board.
Yeah. What other issues have you seen pop up with contracts? I know it's a hot topic these days.
Yeah, I think that it's important to have exit clauses. I call them golden parachutes. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure Trump is known for these in business.
Yeah.
But having a way out, right? Actually having multiple ways out.
Right.
There's this age-old one I was kind of taught. You've probably heard it, like putting it in writing under, like, if you have additional terms and conditions, like
Mhm.
this is conditional upon business partners approval or whatever. And And that has been told to a lot of people. And I don't like the fact that it is handwritten. I want it to, because if the whole contract is in black and white, typed ink, and then you print something, where are your eyes going to grab it? Where's the spotlight? It's
Right.
on this thing that says that the whole deal is contingent upon my business partner's approval. So that may raise some issues. Rather, I actually have these golden parachute clauses sprinkled throughout my purchase and sales agreement. So I have one for I brought it up just in case you ask me. I have one in case for the inspection, if I'm able to inspect the property, that I can get out if they didn't fairly represent the condition of the property. And I think that there's only $15,000-$20,000, and I go in, the house is burnt down, and there's only a chimney left. Well, dude, I'm out. Like, you lied to me about the condition of the property. That's actually happened to me. I have another one. If I don't get access to the property, well, how in the world I'm not going to buy this sight unseen I'm not going to pay $150,000 sight unseen for this house. I need to have access to the property. So I have a golden parachute there. I have another golden parachute for the closing date. If I'm not dragging my feet, but the seller's dragging their feet, then it actually automatically extends in 7-day increments until they cure title, if there's any title issues or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I have several of these golden parachutes, if you will, that allow me the ability to exercise some options.
Here's what I've got on mine. So where it talks about closings, mine says seller grants any extensions needed to clear title or to complete closing documentation. So that's just a little open. It doesn't have the recurring 7 days. And for me, mine says this contract is contingent on clear title and final inspection by the buyer or the buyer's agent before closing, and that the property is suitable for the buyer's needs and plans. And that for me is the one that kind of gets me all the way to the closing table. That I'll drop it in. Oh no. Hang on, let me drop it in here. And that to me kind of gets me all the way to the point of really literally the minute we sign that gives us that out. But yeah, I think what you're talking about is it's really good to have set clear expectations, and that's what a lot of these are, right? Hey, I've got to have access to the property. Hey, if there's a lease, you've got to give it to me. Hey, if there's a mortgage statement, you got to provide it within 3 days, right? Like, we have to have these things in order to move forward.
Right. And it's part of and the cool thing is I like that it holds teeth, meaning I told you that I need this, and we entered into an agreement. That I have to do X, Y, and Z for due diligence. Again, this is on a recorded call, and we always send a brief.
Love that.
It's just three action steps. As soon as the purchase and sales agreement is signed, we always send an email afterwards. So these are your next steps. I need pictures. I need access, things like this, right? So here's what we need to do. This is what I need the seller to do. And if they don't comply, I like that the contract gives us teeth of like, dude, do you want to close on this? Because if not, I'm not going to close. We're just going to keep on pushing this thing out until you get me access to the house, until you, whatever the issue is, whether it's a title issue or access, turning on utilities, all of these things hold us back and delay.
And what do you find is the thing that like holds it up the most? I know title issues are very common. That's what we deal with every single day. But what are the other things? Is it just seller's remorse? Is it they got an offer from somebody else? They changed their mind? What things are you running up against?
I don't deal much with seller's remorse, people changing their mind. I don't deal with that too often. The things that I deal with often are there's no utilities on the house has been vacant for 4 years or whatever. And so I tell them home inspector is going out on the 15th. I need you to have the utilities turned on by the 14th, and they drag their feet. They don't get around to it. The inspector goes out. Hey, Keith, the utilities are off. This upsets me because I just spent $500 on a home inspection. He can only inspect X, Y, and Z, and he has to leave the rest of it out. And I'm not going to buy the house if I don't know that we're not going to flip on the breakers and cause an electrical fire at the panel. Same thing with water. I've had some nightmares with both fire and water coming from electric, and
Really,
and I'm unwilling to close unless those systems are tested. Even if we don't, it's called pressure testing the lines, right? Even if we don't turn the water on and we can just pressure test, hey, fine, I understand. But you need to communicate that with me so that we can inspect it, because that's an atypical part of the home inspection, right? Or normal home inspector, now he has to bring some equipment out.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest thing. Next would be access. The home inspector goes out, and we always just use the pictures from the home inspector,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, I'd love to get pictures from the seller, but if not, then we get them from the home inspector. Usually provide 150, 200 photos. They go out there, and there's nobody at the house. Nobody's answering the door. There's not a lockbox, anything like this. And those things frustrate me as well. If we've set clear expectations that, hey, in 2 days, we're going to have a home inspector out there. We need to get access to the property. He's going to be there between 8 and 12. Can you make that happen? Yes. And then he goes and nobody is there. Those are some issues that we've been running into.
And these are properties that you're buying for yourself, for your own portfolio, right? So
That's
maybe if you're wholesaling, might not be.
Maybe you don't need a home inspector,
Right.
but somebody's gonna, the buyer's gonna want to walk the property. There's still gonna need access. They're still gonna need to walk it and make sure that it's suitable for the price that you're selling it.
Yeah. One of the things that we implemented in our wholesaling business was to kind of along these same lines was after, the acquisitions person got the contract signed, I had a little script for him, and it was something like, hey, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Smith, whatever. Hey, thank you so much for going under contract. Hey, just so that we're all clear, our price is based off the information that you've told us here. So if there's anything that comes up when we come out to inspect the property, we'll have to come back and discuss the price. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I'm waiting for them to say yes. I can put that kind of marker in the ground, and and that just gives me something where I can go back to and go, oh, hey, do you remember
how we talked about that?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up here, Mrs. Smith. That we can come back to and say, here it is. Let me read it here. Hey, Mrs. Smith, before we end the call, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're agreeing to a purchase price for your property of whatever it is in its as-is condition, and we arrived at that amount based on the information you provided regarding the condition of the property. If there are any major differences when we visit the house, we'll of course have to revisit the price. I'm sure that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Also, we're buying the property. We're going to cover all the standard closing costs like title insurance and closing fees. That does not include back taxes, liens, or cost to clear the title. Does that sound right? Yeah. And I say, great, I'll have our transaction coordinator reach out to you in the next day or two to gather any, additional information, docs, leases, anything that the title company is going to need to close out that transaction. And listen, our guarantee to you is that we will close this as fast as possible. Our deal, our mission is to, get you paid just as quickly as possible.
Yes,
and then as we discussed, we'll need access to the property, usually, a minimum of 2 times, once right away to see the property, make sure we're getting, make sure we're all agreeing to the same thing. And then once before closing to have our contractors do their assessments. We'll make every effort to get it knocked out quick. So that was just something that, I'm like, you can say it in your own words, but these are the points that we need to 100% make sure that they understand.
I think that's, again, going back to the topic number 1 of like, you can have a really, really good deal, but if it's not clear, if there's confusion, there's a case. And then the second thing is you can have a really, really good deal, but it's only as good as the paperwork that backs it.
That's right. So, well, let's, I know we've only got a few minutes left and we want to definitely talk about this. Let's talk about memorandums.
Yeah, cool. So
real estate these days.
So again, the deal is only as good as the paperwork that backs it. If you have an agreement and it's just ironclad, it's absolutely bulletproof, and everything is super clear, how are you going to uphold that agreement if they decide to go with another buyer, if they decide that they're not going to sell, if they decide that they're going to ghost you and then try to sell it to somebody else 5 months down the road?
Right.
And so we actually always get a memorandum signed with the purchase and sales agreement. It's actually notarized, and then we hold on to that.
You're sending out a notary with every contract.
We send out sometimes we send out a notary, sometimes we do an online notary. But the fact of the matter is, within 24 hours of every purchase and sales agreement, we have a memorandum notarized. Now, whether or not it gets filed is going to be up to me. We just keep it in house.
Gotcha.
But the minute that seller gets a little squirrely, we're gonna file it and make sure that our asset is protected, because at that point they can walk away and there's absolutely no legal repercussion. The only legal repercussion that I have is if a memorandum has been filed on the house.
Yeah. And when you say squirrely, I'm going to tell you what it meant for me. And then if it's something different for you, for me, it was like all of a sudden the seller doesn't answer the phone, or, or we were working, everything was fine until I sent some buyers over there to look at the property, right? So I would definitely, if it was like one old lady and she wasn't leaving the house when we were doing inspections, 100% I would file it. Or all of a sudden a realtor gets involved, just
Yeah.
something
Or
something
just
weird starts happening.
blatantly, Keith, I have another offer from another buyer. Hold on a second. So in the second to last paragraph of our purchase and sales agreement, it says that I have the exclusive right to buy, and you're no longer going to list for sale or for rent. I am the only person who has the right to buy, and this is a legally binding contract. And then I actually have the same stuff. You are who you say you are. You're not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. You
Yeah.
have sound mind and sound judgment, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
of that is in my second to last paragraph. And I tell them this is the most important paragraph of the
Yeah.
purchase and sales agreement.
Yeah.
And so the minute that they violate one of those things and they try to go to another buyer, I'm immediately gonna file
Yeah.
that with the county.
And that's, I've had to have that conversation a couple of times. I'm like, the reason that we have to have contracts is because handshakes aren't good enough anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah,
And, I will always reposition it to be, hey, this is so that I am actually going to perform on this contract.
that's right.
So if I had somebody who got nervous about, signing the
Memo.
thank you, signing the memo or whatever it is, I'd be like, hey, here's another thing that we have signed, just further assurance that that we are going to perform on
Yep.
our side of the contract. So I always like to try to reposition and reframe it.
I
from-
love that because we both have responsibilities here.
Yeah.
You're agreeing to sell me the house, but I'm
Mhm.
also agreeing to buy the house.
Right. Yeah. And, same thing too, like if you ever have to get a contract extension, it's going into bankruptcy or it's an estate or probate or whatever it is. Hey, Mrs. Smith, let's go ahead and extend this contract 60 days, 90 days. I want you to know that I'm going to be here with you, throughout this whole process. You
Mhm.
don't have to worry about me bailing out on you halfway through. Right.
Mm,
I always
that's
want to
good.
reframe
I
that
love
and
that.
make sure that it's a positive.
Yeah, I've never done that. That was a good tip.
Yeah.
That was
There
a
you
really
go.
good tip.
There you go.
I would think that I'm pretty advanced, but that was
Yeah,
fantastic.
well, I've been doing it a
That's
long
great
time.
reframe.
I've
That's really
I've
good.
done a lot of them.
Thank
So
you.
I agree with you. I do like memos. However, and used properly, I think they're great. But I do think that,
They are
there are
abused.
people who 100% abuse it.
Thousands.
I've had to go to court and get a suit for quiet title done
Yep.
because I bought a property and the title company missed that the memo was on there.
Yep.
But there are just people who kind of squat on properties and just, screw up
Yeah.
the deeds
I
by doing
they
that. And I'm
ruin
against
our
that.
industry, frankly.
Yeah, I don't know why there are people out there that teach that as a strategy or they think it's cool. Like, I've got, one of our clients now that's dealing with it. It's a deal where the woman's going to foreclosure and the other wholesaler just will not take this memo off. And they want more money than either the wholesaler or the homeowner is going to
Yeah.
get. They're
Yeah.
just trying to solve a problem.
Dude,
So
it's
I'm
literally
against
a
that.
scam. Like
Yeah.
there's been a couple times this year where somebody's tried to quit claim deed a
Mhm.
house to me for like $1,000 or
Yeah.
$2,500. And I'm like, heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
$2,500 for this house. Then we look at it, and I'm like, it's not a big house. It's like
Yeah.
a $60,000 house in the
Mhm.
middle of
Yeah.
the United States. But I'm like, for $2,500, like I have bought houses legitimately for that.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a general warranty deed. Like
Mhm.
everything is good. But they're trying to do a quit claim deed.
Mhm.
And then I actually do my own title search, like in-house title search. They
Mhm.
have no right to the property.
Mm.
Is it illegal for them to give me a quit claim deed? No, they're not warranting that they have equitable claim to the house. They're saying if
They're
I
not saying they're the
do,
full owner. Yeah.
that's right. If I
Mhm.
do have equitable claim, I'm quitting my claim to you. I'm giving it over to you. So it's not legally wrong what
Yeah.
they're doing, but I think that it could be still construed as fraud or definitely a scam. Like it's definitely
Yeah.
ethically wrong.
There's definitely a lot of deed scams out there. Memphis is known for it.
Yes.
There's a lot of it out there.
That's where
Um,
the last one was.
yeah, I think as investors, one thing that we always have to look at, especially if you're buying for yourself, is risk, right? Risk and reward. If
Yes.
I'm going to get a general warranty deed and I'm going to get title insurance and First American is going to guarantee this transaction, I feel
Good.
very safe. I will pay, whatever the as is value is, right? No problem,
Yeah.
right? But as those deeds start to go down, right, so does my price. So if I'm going to a special warranty deed or, and there's a million different
Sheriff's
tax
deed,
deeds,
whatever.
sheriff's deeds,
Yeah.
pocket deeds, all the way down to a quick claim deed, right? The lower the level of deed, the more risk I'm taking on. And
That's right.
if the deed's going down, so is my price.
Yeah.
But I have definitely bought tax deed properties for,
Sure. Yeah,
$5,000 or
absolutely.
$6,000 because my exit strategy is to just hold it forever and make it a rental. So
Right.
it's fine, right? But I do think this is a great conversation. People need to understand that, different deeds mean different things, and it
Yeah.
gives you a different level of control and security over that property.
Yep. It has nothing to do with our original topic of purchase and sales agreement, but
It
it
does
has
not.
everything to do with the level of the deal is only as good
Yeah.
as the paperwork that backs it.
Yeah.
These, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Paperwork needs to be good.
100%. All right. Last question for you before we wrap it up. I know we went just a little bit long here.
Yeah.
If you could only include one clause, not all the clauses, just one in your wholesale contract to protect the deal, what would it be and why?
That's a super good question. There's two of them. There's two of them that I really like.
Got to pick one. It's
Dude.
it's like picking the favorite child.
So I have a sneaky one, and then I have a blatant one.
Okay.
The sneaky one, it has a lot of teeth, and it says, if you back out of this, I'm coming after you. It's a buyers and sellers default clause. So it protects them, as just as you were saying, it protects them as much as it protects me. And it's a big one, but it says buyers and sellers default clause. However, theirs is shorter and mine is very big of I'm coming after you. But I think that like I told you, the second to last paragraph is probably my most important one.
Yeah.
I really like this one because this one is like, I am going to close on this house. You better not freaking stab me in the back and go to another person. I'm going to close this. If you try, I have a memo and I'm going to close on this deal. However, my last one, this is really, really big. I don't know if you want to put this in the like whatever you just did right there.
Yeah.
It's, oh man, it doesn't even show all of it. It's so big.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Described in this agreement. Here's the second part, which is kind of the best. That second part says the seller further understands that they cannot change their mind or cancel the contract at some later date without being in default of this agreement, which then goes back to the seller's default clause. Nor can the seller continue to market to the property to any other buyer or tenant. So when I say like this is just so blatantly clear on exactly what we're agreeing upon. You're of sound mind, of able body. You're not under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any mind-altering substance. You're not taking medication that would cloud the seller's judgment. I mean, like, dude, here right there. Oh, I got called into court one time. Seller is not under duress and has agreed to sell the property to the buyer freely and willingly. That's a big thing because she was arguing, well, I am under duress because I'm elderly and my kids are trying to put me in a home.
Well, yeah, that's duress from them, not from me.
That's exactly
I'm trying to help you.
That's exactly correct, which is why we included it with the next. I think it's the next. It is the next sentence. Seller has agreed to sell the property to buyer only because it is in the seller's best interest. Considering all factors. Seller understands what it is signing and has all of its questions answered. Here's another one. Seller is therefore not confused about any of the provisions of this agreement. And I can go back and say, Your Honor, if I ever were to be called into court again, I can say, Your Honor, we literally walked the seller through paragraph by paragraph and explain everything in layman's terms. The full thing was recorded. Would you like to hear the recording? We can admit it to to you afterwards.
Yeah, and sellers, they're pretty cool with this. They don't care, right?
Dude, I have done this. This has now been in my agreement for man, that was back in like 2021. Yeah, it's been in my agreement for at least 3 years, if not 4 years. Hundreds of people, and nope, they don't have any issues.
At the end of the day, people just want you to solve their problem.
That's right. Help somebody, and they're fine with that.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, this is 100% the trust economy. People, they want to trust that you are going to do the thing that you said you're going to do.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Keith, thank you so much, my man. This was really good. I loved coming on, talking contracts. I could do that all day. I think it's fascinating. So many different ways to do it, but it's so important. Again, something that we see in easy REI closings all of the time. Clients come to us with bad contracts, and we try to get them to fix it as best we can. But things are never a problem until they are. Right.
That's right.
So it may have worked 5 or 6 times. You think it's great, but then when it goes sideways, it's always the $40,000-$50,000 deal. It never seems to fail.
Yep. Agreed. The deal is only as good as the paperwork that backs it.
Nice. Again, thank you so much. Guys, if you like this, make sure you like and subscribe. Share it with somebody who needs some help with their contracts. We dropped in the comments here a link where you can get Keith's contract. He's going to give it to you, I think, for free. You just click the
Absolutely for
link.
free.
And,
That's right.
yep. So that is absolutely amazing. If we can help you with your transactions, make sure you reach out to us at Easy REI Closings. Keith, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you
Thank
being
you,
on the
David.
Broker Club.